Hello, this is Angelique, and you're listening to We're Booked Up, a segment of the Gaston Speaks podcast wherein Kendall, Andrew, and I discuss books. For this episode, we'll be discussing...
Freudian slip.
For this episode, we'll be discussing November 9, a new adult romance by Colleen Hoover. There will be spoilers.
Yeah,
But
definitely
first-
don't edit that, by the way,
I
because
won't.
it's too perfect. Yeah.
But first, what have we been reading or watching? Kendall.
Oh, you're
No,
both
go for
looking
it.
at me. What have I been reading? Honestly, this book, and then I started next month's book because we have all had just sickness after sickness. It's been rough. What am I watching? Mostly TikToks because they're short and I can be distracted easily. I've sent Angelique like 50 over the past 48 hours. I'm watching the British version of Ghosts, and it's hilarious. It is amazing.
Yeah, it's
highly
a good show.
recommend. Like
It's a good show.
it's better than the one on CBS. And
But that one's still good, though.
I'm sure it's good.
Yeah.
I know it's good. I've watched the first couple
Yeah, yeah.
episodes. I'm not a
British.
Anglophile. There's the word.
There it is, yeah.
I'm not. So I will choose American Office over British Office, but the British Ghosts is better.
Awesome. We do own the British Ghosts, the season 1 here at the library. And we're also getting, I think, soon season 1 of Ghosts from CBS. So you can actually check both of them out and watch both of them, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good show. Good show.
All right, Andrew.
So watching has been, I don't know. I've been in one of those modes where I'm just watching old stuff because I don't feel like watching anything new.
The Nanny.
The Nanny, Living Single. I've just been rotating. But
I love it.
I did, and we were and last night was the one where Gladys Knight plays Obi's mom, and she sings, and that was a good one. That was fun. No, but I read for a book club, and I'm bringing it up because I want to talk about it later in comparison to this book, but and not in a good way. But we read Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney.
Oh, did you like it?
Uh,
No, it's on my to-do read list.
It's okay. So
Okay.
it moves really fast. It has a really interesting twist on it. It's just it's very psychological thriller, and that's just not really my genre. But the people who love it, like Pam, like who really love that kind of stuff, they loved the book.
Is it better than the guest list?
That's a good question.
It's very similar to the guest list. There's like those weird jump scares, but unlike on the guest list, there are like all those jump scares, and they were just nothing. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's a rock.
Yeah.
They start off with some of those, but then some of them actually do end up being like more important. But it's still whereas none of them were important in the guest list.
Yeah.
There's at least 3 or 4 that actually turn out to be something out of like the 25. But it's very similar where it's an interesting setup. There's a lot of twists and turns, and for me it didn't always land the way that I thought it would. But again, it's an interesting because the twist I did not see coming in that one. I really, really did not see coming. So that part was really effective. When it happened, you were like, "Oh my god!" It really hit you. So,
Okay.
so that's worth.
it.
No, I would read it. It's interesting if you like that kind of stuff, and it's and it's just not my genre. But I did read that for book club, and then I started reading ours for December, and then what else am I reading? That's it. I barely got through. Well, we'll get to that anyway. Angelique, what have you been watching and reading?
I read this book, and it took forever, I feel like. Or maybe that was just the book. What was I been? I moved on from car crash videos, and now I'm
We were
watching,
worried, so I'm glad.
And now I'm watching still YouTube videos, but now I watch like Costco haul videos for some reason. And yeah, I don't get it either. But they're very soothing somehow.
Angelique, you need to talk to somebody about this problem.
Is it like where they show you what they got? And
Well,
the
no,
price they got
they're
it
actually
for?
in Costco shopping. And then they come home and show you. It's weird. I also watch Japanese travel videos.
That
and-
sounds fun.
And in Japan, they don't, like most YouTubers don't actually show their own face. So you just see what they see. So that's interesting. What else did I watch?
There's I think a YouTube channel that goes on train rides throughout European countryside.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
We put
cool.
it on the background during holidays. It's very soothing.
Okay, so first of all, my Christmas tree went up because I
Yeah.
wanted them crazy. I did watch the National Lampoon Christmas Vacation for the first time this year. There we
I
go. That's
saw.
what we watched. Okay, but my grandfather used to remember when they had that Yule log thing. I don't know if they still have it, where there was just like on Christmas Day for 24 hours they would just have like a camera on a Yule log, and every once in a while a hand would come in and like put a new log in. He was obsessed with that. It was so funny because we'd be sitting there and he had like gas logs that we would not turn on but we'd have the TV on with the Yule log just going. It was his favorite thing ever. So
All right, so let's move on to the book, and we will start with the synopsis as usual. So I'm going to go ahead and
do we all have? I think we all have the same.
Yeah, we have the
synopsis.
same book.
yeah, we have the same book. Fallon meets Ben, an aspiring novelist, the day before her scheduled cross-country move. Their untimely attraction leads them to spend Fallon's last day in L.A. together, and her eventful life becomes the creative inspiration Ben has always sought for his novel. Over time and amidst the various relationships and tribulations of their own separate lives, they continue to meet on the same date every year, until one day Fallon becomes unsure if Ben has been telling her the truth or fabricating a perfect reality for the sake of the ultimate plot twist. Can Ben's relationship with Fallon, and simultaneously his novel, be considered a love story if it ends in heartbreak? All right. What did we think of that synopsis in relation to what we read?
Lies.
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 Straight up lies. That book sounds interesting.
I know.
Ooh.
I will say it was accurate up until Fallon becoming suspicious
Mm-hmm.
of, I said suspicious, of Ben, because she never was suspicious. She
Mhm.
stumbled upon his script, and
Mhm.
that's when she found out the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lies. It would have been so much more interesting if she started catching, like,
If
little
there had
bits.
been hints throughout the book that maybe he was not as trustworthy as she deemed him to be.
Yeah,
Yep.
because up to that point, it was just like she was it.
And also, to answer the question that is at the end of the book, yes, you probably can have a love and that ends in heartbreak, but they don't explore it in this book.
No.
Nope. Not one bit.
Mm.
She just gets depressed. And then everything's okay again.
He makes it all better.
Oh
He
God!
kisses her boo-boo, and then she feels fine.
Yeah.
Don't get me started. Anyway, okay.
Oh, we're going there.
We're
Okay,
going
so
there.
so we'll go to ratings now. Andrew, what was your rating?
1 star,
Okay.
and that's probably generous. It's just you can't put 0 on a Goodreads. So
Okay.
1 star.
Yeah, mine was 1 star. It at one point was half a star.
Yep.
It went up to a 1 star because after some serious reflection, there were a couple things I did like about the book.
Yeah. There were some moments that worked.
But 1 star, this replaces the noise for me as the new
Yes.
threshold. Whoa.
And let me tell you why. Okay, now we'll get there. What is your rating? Okay.
Probably 1.5.
Ooh.
Also, ironically, apparently, according to the New York Times, she has outsold James Patterson in John Grisham.
I saw that.
So,
I feel bad for James Patterson right now.
yeah.
I never thought I would, but I feel bad for him.
Mm,
It outsold the Bible. It outsold like everything.
it did.
Yeah.
I actually kind of don't feel bad for James Patterson.
I really don't
No,
either,
Because
but-
she was
money,
like a
he's
dairy
fine.
farmer and like she's
Yeah.
finding success, and I'm very excited for her personally.
And that's what I was telling Angelique one day. I was telling her, I'm like, this is someone who a lot of these books are older. Like they were published years ago, but
Mhm.
then she took it into her own hands and she got on social media and she pushed them and she used the mediums that were there for her to really reach her fans. That's cool. That part of it is really cool,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the only cool part.
I am just thinking that maybe this is one of the books that she wrote very early on
Yes.
and was like brought back into the fold, and maybe should have just been left in the past, because
It feels
I
like
have
the
heard
past.
like other people who have read Verity who had better takes. My sister had to read It Ends With Us for her book club. She said she read it in 2 days and it was good. So I'm going to not judge Colleen Hoover harshly for her entire oeuvre of work based on this one novel, but I will judge this novel. It's gonna bring out my mean girl.
That's fine. That's what
Me
we're here
too.
for.
Yeah, sorry.
what we're here
Sorry,
for.
audience. I can't.
Okay.
I can't.
Let's start with the questions then.
Ooh.
First question. Did you like the characters? Why or why not?
No.
They
Okay.
were hard. She beat me to it. Okay.
Go, Andrew, go.
No, there was not one redeeming character in this book. They were all horrible.
Yeah.
No, none of them. They were horrible.
They were dull and infuriating.
Yeah.
Like in turns. They
Yeah.
just
If I had to pick one good character, it would probably be Fallon's best friend. What was her name? Amber.
Amber, yeah.
Oh, I liked Amber.
She wasn't
yeah.
bad. She wasn't that interesting
No.
but she wasn't bad.
No.
She was fine.
Yeah.
She served her purpose well.
Yeah.
Everyone else horrible.
You're right. She was kind of a blip.
Even poor Glenn,
Oh, poor Glenn. Yeah.
who, had he not told Ben where Fallon was the night that they went to the club or whatever.
Yeah.
But even Glenn, I mean, that was a mistake. I can forgive Glenn. But, ugh.
So basically, the only characters that were even like not horrible were bit 2-part characters that popped in and then
Yeah.
Work.
Mhm.
They only like served a certain purpose. They didn't really
Right.
have any depth to them whatsoever. Yeah.
because the deeper you got into these characters, the worse they
Oh,
got. So
God.
it's like maybe there's shallowness was why they weren't so offensive.
And it wasn't worse in a fun way.
No.
Like your Lotus show.
Oh yeah. Those
It
people
wasn't
are
like that.
horrible.
It wasn't
Yeah,
like that.
But it's supposed to be.
They were.
Supposed to be.
What makes them horrible to me is that they're presented like they're supposed to be good.
Yes.
Like the reader is supposed to read these characters and be like, oh, they're good characters that are just complicated. No, they're all toxic, horrible people.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know that I've been, yes, toxic. He's disgusting. But like the rest of them were just dull. There wasn't much substance to them, I feel. Even Fallon, and you got her point of view, and I'm just like, oh, she just has low self-esteem, which understandably,
You know,
Yeah,
but
but how many
that's
times can you
all
beat a
she
dead
does.
horse?
I
is have
take it
low self-
back.
The
yeah.
fire. Like, and it's like we're talking about like the cheeseburger that we're ordering at the dinner, and then but the fire took away my love of cheeseburgers. Like that was supposed to be a traumatic event, and it did
Yeah.
affect her life, but it was so poorly like put out there, and it was just like it was like Colleen Hoover every once in a while had to remind you about it. Like
And
we
it
forgot.
seemed like, honestly, the effect seemed purely cosmetic, but she was burned over half her body. There would be more physical effects.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she only focused on the aesthetic of her like body now that she had these burns, I feel like.
So that doesn't bother me that
Yeah.
she was traumatized, that she has a very
No,
physical.
I understand the trauma, but
Yeah, disability. That's not even the right word. I'm sorry.
yeah, she didn't really.
She
That's the
had
problem
a
I had. She didn't really
physical-
give her a disability. She didn't want to write a disabled character. I feel
Yeah.
like.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Like to have that representation. But
I don't know. With Ben involved, it could have gotten even
Yeah.
weirdly worse.
yeah,
than it
that is
got.
a very good point because
It could have been a complete. It was already exploitation. It could have gotten worse.
I don't
Yeah.
think she meant to write Ben as a predatory character.
Oh.
Because
Because
she
this
had
was-
to change the book.
I
Yeah,
did,
I
and
heard
that's
that.
still what came out. Yeah, this
So
is
it was
just
worse
very
before.
Yeah.
problematic.
Because there was
Yeah.
apparently a scene, and what in our book,
I
right?
think
This
it was the scene in the closet in the first
Which
meeting.
was horrifying.
horrifying.
but apparently it was edited.
yeah, to
because
make it less
less
horrifying.
rapey.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, if you have to, never mind. If you have to do that, and
Yeah.
it still is horrifying,
Yeah.
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back and read whatever the original was.
Yeah.
Because that's just disturbing, and it was supposed to be not disturbing.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be like sweet.
Romantic.
It was supposed to be
and
romantic. It was supposed to
intimate.
be. I don't even think it was supposed to be. I might not say romantic. I know I probably just gave you the affirmative for that, but I think
No,
it was
yeah.
supposed to be.
I think
like,
it was more about the sexual tension kind of thing.
sexual tension, but also I think she was trying to write the character so that he was really trying to say, "You're not ugly. You're worthy of wearing this dress."
There's a way to do that.
The problem I had with Fallon, and I take it back, you're right, Angelique. I don't think all the characters were toxic. I just think they were. Oh, it was just anyway. But Fallon, the issue I had was that whenever she did start building self-confidence, she attributed it 100% all the way back to Ben. There was no she had an entire year between each of the dates in which they met, in which she was challenging herself. She was putting herself out. She was going on the auditions. Yeah, sure, he made the challenge, but she actually went through with it.
Yeah.
That
she
was
did it
her
herself. Yeah.
growth. There's a difference between someone being a support for you and challenging you to move on and be better and grow, and then straight up taking that
And it's not like she didn't have support
credibility.
before.
Yeah.
Like she had Amber and her
Mhm.
mom. And her
And
dad
Glenn.
sucked, but
Yeah, her dad did suck.
But even it sounded like they didn't really explore it as much. But it sounded
Mhm.
like when she got into those theater communities and like
She
the
found
kid,
support.
yeah, and she
Yeah.
actually said because she talked about later how when she got into the big leagues, there was a lot
Mhm.
more competition. But when she got into that community theater, she kept that was mentioned several times about she just really enjoyed it, which means that she had a support system there.
yeah.
Well, people looked to her for help, and so she was able to build self-esteem that way. She was doing esteemable acts, and it helped her grow. But she did not recognize that in the book. In the book, it was always Ben made me love myself. Ben touched my scars. Ben. And it's like, no, he assaulted you and then you rationalized it.
Yeah.
And then now you're like uber in love with him for it.
Yeah.
It's really. Anyway, what's the next question?
What is the next
I have
question?
points to make.
No, make the point.
Well, no, but then I don't want to do like we always do, where we make the points and then Angelique asks the questions. So let's see what the questions
that's
are.
Fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
What did you think of their instant connection? Do you think it was believable?
So actually, that was the one part of the book in the beginning that I actually liked because it was kind of like romantic comedy, quirky. Like this guy overhears this horrible conversation before you know all the stuff that you know, right?
Yeah.
But at the beginning, it was kind of like, and so that's the one moment where he seemed like a nice guy because he was just like, he realized this guy was a jerk and he sits there and he does this kind of cute thing where he pretends it to try to like, that was, because it was cheesy, but it kind of felt like the opening of like a cheesy romantic comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went downhill
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah.
I was really hoping that the big twist was going to be that Fallon's mom or dad hired this guy to insert himself in this situation and do that. That's
And then
what
it became real. And then it became something
it was
more.
so much worse.
That
Okay.
actually would have, where it was
I
like
like that.
the mom was really concerned, but then it actually turned into something. Because there are a lot of movies and stories that are kind of based upon that. There was a movie with like Deborah Messing called The Wedding Date, where she hires like a date, and then they end up like so. It's cheesy and it's still kind of but it's a vice that's been used before to moderate success.
Like, if they were to use that device of him
Yeah.
like coming in, it would have been so much easier for him to go to her later and admit, hey, I was actually kind of paid to do this, or I was like a pawn in the situation, like it was a setup, but it's a lot better than I was kind of stalking your dad after lighting his car on fire and almost killing you, and then I instantly thought you were super hot and thought I should intervene when your dad was being a jerk. You got no place, son.
No.
You got no place.
No.
Wait,
No.
okay.
Yeah, again, that's so that when it started off, the first like 20 pages were probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Just because at least it was an interesting setup. It was an interesting scene. You didn't know where it was going to go. Like I didn't read the back of it because I just dove into it. And then the other 280 pages happened.
Yeah.
And it went downhill from there.
I actually really disliked the first chapter, the first date, because of how immature Ben's thoughts were
Oh yeah,
the whole way through. Ben became a little bit more likable starting on the second November 9th date through, I would say, the big reveal.
Oh no, so I just meant like that first setup with the dad, because then the second that they go to his perspective and he starts saying, "I want to know what color her panties were," that's when that's what I'm saying. Like literally, the second they turned to his perspective, excuse me, and he started sharing his thoughts, it went downhill from there.
Yeah.
Look.
It was literally just her perspective from the first one.
Oh, I
Yeah.
just wish writers would go away from that and like give guys a little bit more credit. So even
Yeah.
if they are really thinking that, let's not put it in our books. Like,
First of all, both men and women and anyone have those thoughts about other people. Like, it's not like, because there are women, I'm sure, who have thought horrible things or been like, look at him or whatever.
sure, every girl is like, that's a nice tush
Yeah.
about the whomever they are
And you do that, but
encountering.
it again, you're right. It's like,
Doesn't have to be so. He kept going back to it.
that was the moment where I was like, I don't know what's going to happen in this book, but it's never going to be as romantic as they make it seem.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the first like, oh, he thought it was cute that he wanted to get in her pants. Like, no, that's not cute. You're just a pig.
Yes.
You're just a pig. Then we find out how disturbing it is from there on. But from that moment, it's like you had one decent device at the beginning, and then every other device after that just got more and more and more. Yeah. Although, you know what? That moment might have been foreshadowing for how we felt about men moving forward.
Yeah. Okay. Angelique, let's stay on track with your questions.
Sorry,
I think Andrew,
sorry.
No. I think you had a good point that we need to get through our questions, and then we can just
Let it loose.
Let it
Yes.
go.
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay. Did I answer?
Oh yeah, did you?
Did I?
What was the
Okay.
question?
What did you? We got to get to these questions. I don't remember. Okay. What did you? What did you think of their instant connection? Did you think it was believable?
Oh, I okay.
No, not really. I mean, not really.
I don't really think of it as an Insta connection because she was like suspicious of him at first. It wasn't like he met her eyes and she was like, that Taylor Swift song came on in the background and she was instantly in love.
Kiss Me.
She,
By Sixpence None the Richer. That's
Aw,
what
that
because
would've
I'm a 90s child. I was like,
that would've been so
Kiss?
sweet.
Is it- Yeah, yeah.
I
She's all
don't think
that.
it was really insta love, but it
was quick.
It was quick, and quite frankly, the number of hours she added up at one point in the book, and she's like, "This is like 6 weeks of dating." No, hun, it's not.
Uh-uh.
No, hun, because you haven't talked in between.
No.
You haven't you don't know if that person has
You haven't had conversations like when you
Yes.
can't see each other face to face.
how many times did you just fall asleep on the bed?
I know.
That doesn't count. Okay, I'm sorry,
That's
Angelique.
weird, by the way. What was that?
That was
whole
very
plot, it didn't make any, and it didn't really work for me.
So she didn't have to write the in between.
So you shouldn't have to actually write the
So she makes them
intimate
fall asleep.
conversations that
Yeah.
may have made this more human. No. We're just
Yeah.
going to
Just-
eliminate that and go straight to the disturbing stuff.
Yeah.
That's quality, Not.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Angelique, I'm sorry. I stole it because you were going to answer, did you believe they're insta love? And I just went off on my tangent.
No, you're fine. As they're hormonal teenagers, yes. Not maybe not insta love, but I believe that they had a instant connection because they're hormonal teenagers.
I kept waiting for the part where they were like, okay, they're 18 right now.
Yeah.
Of course, they're going to be inappropriate. Of course, their brains aren't fully developed.
Yeah.
I get that. And I was waiting for some recognition in the later chapters for them to go back and reflect or something. And that didn't happen.
Yeah.
There was no reflection back
No.
on the weirdness that happened. Because when Marcus and I started dating when we were 19, and did we do really gross, cringy stuff that we were like, I can't believe we did that. I can't, as an adult, I would never do that in a dating situation. But I go back and I recognize that now.
Right.
Yeah.
I really didn't, and maybe this. You have a question about the whole she's 23, she can't do anything until she's 23.
Not really.
Because you're talking about this hormonal thing. I get the mom's concern of you don't want to fall. A lot of times your first love or your high school sweetheart or whatever, it doesn't always work out. But
It's
this
because
whole
you grow with
Right.
them and then
Yeah.
you grow apart.
yeah, exactly, and I get
Mhm.
that. But this whole concept of you're not allowed to do anything until you're 23.
That's not what she's. I don't think she wasn't
She-
allowed. She was just doing following her mom's advice.
Well, but even then, that advice of
Yeah.
you really can't do anything until you're 20. I don't know. From that, it's I get where the mother was coming from.
Yeah.
But then there's also a point where it's okay, but I get it. I think it was just for the plot device.
Mhm.
But that just
Yeah.
seemed a little. Okay, maybe you didn't fall in love officially or get together till 23, but it didn't stop you from everything else.
Yeah.
I think the mom's advice should have been split at, yes, fall in love by the time you're 23, because that way you get to have experiences, but you've got to be willing to go and have experiences. I think maybe that should have been where it was coming from. And
Right.
instead it was no, you can't be in a relationship until you're 23, but I don't know. Anyway,
It just didn't work for me.
the insta love didn't bother me, and it wasn't really insta love, but then I also get there was insta lust ish.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get that.
If they had gone down that path, I was telling Angelique this. If they had stuck with the cheesy romantic comedy, I'd been fine. If they had decided they're going to go down the path and make it basically an erotic novel, I probably would have been. If that's what your intention is, then just
Mhm.
do it. But then it was but then you want all this to be taken seriously, and it's but then none of your setups are either cheesy romantic comedy or weird erotic novel. But then you want it to be a serious romance at the end. It was pick a team, pick a lane,
Yeah.
make
The
something.
tone was just not right in this book.
No, from the very
That's a-
It was
beginning.
all over the place.
Yeah.
I felt like sometimes she would try to be funny and it just wasn't funny.
No.
Some of the dialogue. Oh God, some of the dialogue. Some of the way, some of the phrases she would use. I could feel my face just grimacing when I was reading this book. When I would read certain lines, I was just no, stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cringy. Very cringy
Yeah.
moments.
This is the word for the book, cringe. Okay,
Mhm.
what's your next question?
Okay, so we're just gonna get this one out of the way. What did you think of the plot twist?
So this is where the Alice Feeney book comes into place, right?
Okay.
So the
Mhm.
plot twist in the Alice Feeney book is incredibly disturbing.
Okay, don't
Mhm.
tell me because now I kind of want to read it.
No. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm just saying it's incredibly disturbing because it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
It is a
Mhm.
suspense novel. It
Mhm.
is supposed to be horrifyingly disturbing,
Mhm.
right? Not going
Mhm.
to tell you what it is.
Cool, thank you.
If you read anything, you know that it's a psychological thriller. Most psychological thrillers have those twists, right? This one was a particularly effective twist. This one was also a horrifying twist.
Oh, in
Yes.
November
It was
9th?
not intended
Yes.
to be a horror. They thought it was supposed to be some sort of it was supposed to be part of this romantic. It was it was more horrifying than what happened in Rock Paper Scissors.
Yeah, because of the comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they made this a romance novel.
yeah. Yeah.
They made that a psychological thriller. That's what it's supposed to be. This was horrifying to me.
Yes.
And I literally, I was just like, I barely. I mean, I got through the rest of the book, but it was I probably missed stuff because I could not recover from that. I don't even know how to. It was just it's like that show You almost like.
Mhm.
Like he is a creepy stalker. Like I don't. Ugh. Anyway, go ahead. What do you think of it? I don't even know how to put into words how bad it was.
What I liked about the plot no. What I liked about the plot twist was that I didn't see it coming.
Mhm.
I did not know it was going to happen. It makes me think that perhaps in the other books of hers that might be better written. It's funny because I was talking about like well-written stuff and then messed up that sentence.
We're not trying to publish a book, okay? We're just the critics.
No.
It's okay.
Yeah. In her other books that have been better written, I can now get excited because maybe her plot twists are really good and creative.
This was creative.
In this book, I think she meant it to be like a redeeming thing, like now he can go and make good or whatever. No, it is so horrible that he manipulated the situation to the point where he's now like I can't even put into words how disgusted I am that he's the one that set the fire that caused her scars, that he then basically stalked her dad, that he was like, oh, woe is me, this is horrible. And then he's like, oh no, look at this beautiful it's almost like, look at this beautiful creation that I made that I now feel entitled to touch and manipulate. And I've used manipulate more than once, but now I don't know what another word is, that I can make her, I can bring her back to life. Yeah, seriously, bring it. It was like, I can be the one to help her. I can fix her. I broke her. I can fix her. And it was so condescending and gross and demeaning and...
Fetish was the word I used. He almost had a fetish about her scars.
Yeah.
That was just really sickening.
Like, oh, you know what? She's still beautiful, so it's okay that I burned her and I haven't admitted to it.
Tried to kill her father.
You're like...
No, I think he wasn't thinking he was trying to kill his dad. He was just trying to ruin his car.
Yeah.
But I mean, with all due, I mean... Okay.
Yeah.
No. Maybe the intention wasn't kill, but it's still, but to do harm.
So
he still covered it up.
Yeah.
He's the kind of character that I think when we talk about toxic people, we think that they're doing it with the intention of being toxic, kind of like that they know they're being toxic. I don't think he knew he was being malicious. I don't know that he was malignant in her life, but he definitely was.
I could handle... Your mother dies, you're horrified, you're pissed off, you do something really stupid and horrible.
Mm-hmm.
I could see how that part could be something that could end up being redeemed.
Mm-hmm.
I did something horrible and I feel guilty about it, and I want to make it right. And it turns out that in doing so, I find something wonderful out of it. And she can forgive that because he does love her, or because or he's honest with her, or any of those things. None of that happened.
Where it needed to be placed, this plot twist, for me to be able to forgive it and let the rest of the book happen, would be after they finish that first date, even if it's at the very end or at the very beginning of the second date, or you know what I mean? Like, it needed to be early in the relationship where he says, I cannot, in good conscience, move forward without letting you know. But at no point during this novel did he go and say, hey, I did this to you. She found out about it. And his response was, no, you have to understand why it happened. You have to know why I did it. You have to know why I didn't tell you. No, she doesn't.
Here's the thing.
We all know why you did it.
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell her? That is,
boom.
Why didn't you tell her? My thing, though.
Go, Angelique, go.
Even if he didn't tell her, he should have told us. So that we know his real thoughts on it, his real feelings, not what he wrote down for her to read.
Yeah.
Because you can't trust that. That's
Because
manipulative.
If he had, and that guilt was something
Yeah,
that was
that we
constant
saw,
throughout,
that we knew to
Yes.
be
it
true.
would have been a lot more. That would have been more redemption in
Yeah.
that.
Like, if that would have been a great device, because then it could be like, he's trying to tell her, but this happens. He's trying
Yeah.
to tell her, but then his brother died. Another
Yeah.
traumatic thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Ben hasn't gone through trauma in
No,
his life.
no.
Not
And it
saying-
probably has triggered some of these things. I mean, we know it
Yes.
triggered the one thing, you know.
He's a
so-
broken person,
Right.
and I can admit that. But does that mean that that person is ready for a relationship? No. You got to
Yeah.
heal yourself before you can move forward in any kind of serious relationship
Yeah.
with another person to not be a detriment to that other person.
Like if their relationship was also about him trying to resist, like forming this
Oh.
relationship with her because he knows what he did and he doesn't have the courage to
Ooh.
tell her yet, that would make this more interesting.
You know, and he
I
never
like that.
and
Yeah.
he never said it because they only had those 24 hours together, and he never wanted to
Yeah.
ruin it. You know, you could have. Again, you're right. He was a damaged person, and you could have turned that into a
like something healing for
right,
him.
like with Carmen
for
in the
her.
last book. You know, the catharsis of that
Yeah.
damage and how she. You know, you could have done something with that. His catharsis was. Like you said, this is something that, but I'm the only one that can fix her because I'm the one that destroyed her. And that is abusive, and it crosses the line, and it sounds like in Carmen's book some of those things where
Yeah.
the girlfriend would lose her mind, and then she'd be like, "But I can fix because I didn't mean to," all that kind of stuff. That is an abusive relationship, and there was no reason why you couldn't have had everything in this book without it crossing that line,
Yeah.
but it did every time.
You know what? There was a lot of this book that was problematic because of it's a hot topic right now, but consent. In the book, if you're reading it, you're like, yes, Fallon eventually says yes to everything that happens to her, but what's missing is the informed part. She is
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
informed. And if she had been informed before they took their relationship physical,
Yeah.
then, or even further emotional, because she's telling him, I love you. She's giving herself to him. We talked about in Bringing Down the Duke how I really dislike when a male character comes in and then shapes the world of a female character. Granted, he was the same age as she was, but she still is so shaped by him and his opinion, and she feels like she owes everything to him.
Yeah.
Don't like it.
Yeah,
I
she's
don't like it.
completely ignorant of what he did. And at no point before a certain point, like for like the second to last one or the last one, did he even hint that he had something big to tell her that might affect your relationship with her.
No. He wants her to like read it in the book with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And then the only hint we got from that is, and seeing that the hint is he didn't want to read a book. He didn't want her to read the book. He didn't want to read the book. It's like, so it was never a guilt thing.
Yeah.
It was goes
He-
back to, I want to keep covering
He could
this
have just
up.
never given her that book. And
Yeah.
they would have been in a relationship.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting book as well if several years later she found out that, hey, guess what?
Oh.
And even
But
then,
then that's a completely
if he
different
had
genre.
painted it as the book is my catharsis, it's my way of dealing with this. If any of that had been, but again, it
Yeah.
wasn't any of that.
Yeah.
Everything that happened with that fire the entire time was the cover up.
Yeah.
You know, that's why his brother punched the crap out of him because it was
Mhm.
about the cover up. It
And
was
he-
about.
Admitted at the time that he deserved the punch.
Yeah.
He had the opportunity that early to fix it.
That would have been a moment to have done it.
He had
Why
the
did my brother
opportunity.
punch you? I've been holding on to this. I have to, there's a reason for this.
But he didn't do
He
it.
didn't do it. And the other brother's just like, "Oh, okay." Like, you all are horrible.
Yeah.
Cuz then you're perpetuating, you all know what he did to this girl. And and like I said, Kyle's even though he was not, I mean, he still was complicit in the fact that he
Yeah,
knew.
yeah,
He was
yeah.
the only one that had, to me, what was an appropriate reaction to
Yep.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what should have happened to Ben.
I
That
don't
could have
even
been
think,
the end.
I think Kyle and Ben were the only ones who knew. I don't think the other brother
don't
think
knew.
the other
brother
He
knew.
knew.
Okay,
I
okay.
don't
not
think
be-
he knew.
I would be surprised if Jocelyn didn't know.
Jordan.
Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan.
At some point, she probably
Wow.
had to have known if they were in that. But then again, since he seemed to keep it a secret, maybe she didn't know.
he let
either.
her read the book, though.
Oh, that's right. That's
so,
right.
and the
I-
first part of that book is about
See,
his
she started off
mom
redemptive,
and
and
the
then it
result.
went- she didn't.
Yeah, she was.
Ben is
Hmm.
pulling compassion from other people. Or no, Ben is pulling compassion from Fallon. Like, he's making it about him. And it's like, no, dude, you messed up. You messed up. I know you didn't intend to harm anyone when you set that car on fire. I know you thought it was an act of justice, but you messed up.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
You were 16. You're like, you
It's-
got to fix it at 18. You
it's-
got to fix it at 19.
Right.
You got to fix it at 20.
it's okay that you made a mistake. It's not okay that you couldn't admit to it and do something to not you're never going to fix it,
Yeah.
but do something to try to redeem it in any value.
Yeah.
No. You're going to use it as a plot twist in your frickin' book
Okay.
to make money off of it. Let's go back to think about that. The whole point of this, he got an agent, right? It wasn't even just that
Oh,
he did all
yeah.
of that with Fallon. Then he was going to profit off of this.
Ew. That's a new low. Okay.
Okay. It's
We
not
are fired up, y'all.
It's not as maybe as deep. If you had a choice, would you want these characters to have ended up together?
No.
No.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, next question. What were your favorite or least favorite moments in the book?
All of them.
Least favorite?
Yeah. No, I told you. I thought that the initial, just that first 10 page, where you had the kind of weird setup where
Yeah,
he
yeah,
steps
yeah.
in.
Mhm.
At the time, you don't know anything about him. This is before you get to his perspective, where it immediately starts to get creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Again, in terms of a way to get you into the book, it was an interesting plot device.
Yeah.
And then from there, no, there really were very few moments that I liked. And even now that I think back, I'm like, there may have been some moments that worked along the way, but after that plot twist, I can't remember any of them.
Yeah.
Because it just washed it away.
I had to reflect on the parts that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
You did better than I did.
Here's what it came up with. All right. I'll just read things I liked about the book. It was trying to be meta romance. So it was trying to be like, look at these romance novels. You're not, you've got to be able to do a romance novel level kiss, right? You've got to be
Mhm.
able to do this. You can't say this to me because that's a gross thing. I don't know. I wish she kind of leaned on that device a little more. I think it's fun. It could have been like Scream. The movie Scream is
Oh,
supposed
yeah,
to be
yeah.
like meta horror. You're aware of itself. It wasn't self-aware, but it was trying to be. So I appreciated that. I actually liked the premise of the book, meeting
Mhm.
once a year,
Mm-hmm.
learning about a person. What's that one day going to be like for you?
There's actually, I was telling Angelique, though, there was a play and then it became a movie in 1978 called Same Time Next Year with
Aw.
Alan Alda and Ellen Burstyn. And it's a cute little comedy movie. Got several Oscar nods. And I can't remember who wrote the play originally, but it was one of those,
Mhm.
back in the day. And so it was a good movie. But in 1978, it was more feminist
Yeah.
than this one. So it is a successful plot device that has been used
Mm-hmm.
for romantic comedies.
I like that it's the opportunity to show personal growth.
Yeah.
Fallon did grow. Ben did not. Anyway, moving on. Things I liked. I thought that the first meeting was a little gross to interact with because it was so like, what color panties are you wearing? What do
Yeah.
you look like when you're
Yeah.
not?
Well, that
feeling-"
interaction was gross. Yes.
Yeah, and like when I say first meeting, I mean like after the dad had left.
Gotcha,
So when they're back at
gotcha.
her apartment,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
in the closet, and then they fall asleep, and it just, picked up. I like that she. Oh, I like that she flew to him when his brother died.
I
They-
did.
They had
That was-
no way
that
of
was-
connecting, and she saw that he was in need, and she took it upon herself to go help him. Those are the things I liked. Things I didn't like.
Sorry,
This
it's
is
like
what I wrote.
3 things.
Oh, the one other thing I did like is there's a point when she's talking about the romance novels where she distinguishes that fantasy in romance novels is not necessarily what you want
Yes,
in real life.
I like that too.
I liked that because it's a lot of romance readers, I feel like, maybe feel judged by what they read. Y'all, your librarians don't care what you read.
Nope.
No.
Also, I think like the other thought behind reading romance novels is that's what you want in real life.
Yeah. No.
Not really.
No, it's supposed to be, I think, a fantasy, which is
Yeah,
why
it's
people,
called
it's an
escapism.
escapism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chicks.
Yeah, just because you want to read it for funsies doesn't mean you want to experience it in your real life. So I
Yeah.
did like that she made that distinction. Things I did not like: the plot, the characters, execution of the plot, the writing, or the jokes.
Yeah. If you're gonna be funny, be funny. You gotta be
yeah.
funny. There's just
I liked
fell
1/205th of the book.
It fell so flat.
204th of the.
Do y'all know that? Okay, so you don't know that scene when they're at the club and she's with Theodore or
Mhm.
Teddy or whatever, and they're saying that he's just a horrible person, but the only things they're saying that he's horrible about him
His
is that he
pants.
talks about his pants and then he talks about Nantucket,
Uh-huh.
and that's pretty much it. They don't say much else.
Yeah.
And so at the end, when basically she breaks up with him for this guy who just shows up out of nowhere, and he goes that petty "you're not even pretty" thing, and then Ben punches him, and then Glenn goes after him, and then Amber throws a shoe at him. Like, that's a little bit of an overreaction.
I don't like that Colleen Hoover made the choice to make Teddy dislikable.
Yeah.
The guy that she dated briefly in between, the actor friend, and she was like, he was just a little bit boring. Okay, but Fallon has found her confidence, and they're saying that even with her confidence, the only person that can love her
Yeah.
is
Not a good
Ben.
person. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Get over yourself, Colleen Hoover. You need to write. It would have been more interesting if she had found her James Marsden character who is actually very lovable and every girl would like want, but then there's just someone more.
Yeah.
You
She
know?
had more of an intense connection
Also,
with.
the whole point about like he decided she wasn't ready to sleep with him, and he said he was totally. I don't know if that was Theodore, one of the guys.
It was the guy in between.
It was the boy. Yeah.
the boy.
Yeah.
And it was like,
Oh,
and he was
yeah.
totally okay with that. And then Ben was like, "Don't ever see him again." So basically, because he didn't take advantage of
Yeah.
Fallon, he was bad. I'm
Yeah.
like, so basically, he sensed that Fallon wasn't ready for this, so he backed off and was
Yeah.
a gentleman about it.
Yeah.
And she thinks, well, maybe it was because of the scars, or maybe it's just because he recognized that if he did go through with it, that it would be problematic if she wasn't ready to do it. And
Mhm.
Ben's response is basically, well, because he didn't go through with it, he's the problem.
Yeah.
That I kept thinking about that, and I was just like, that was another layer of, and then the whole "don't ever see him again," that immediate control.
Yes. So that guy in between who decided he didn't want to do anything further and he looked relieved. I think something that was missing from that interaction was the fact that Fallon wasn't ready in her life to say, this is what I find appropriate during this interaction. But she needs to start having interactions to figure out what's
Right.
appropriate, what's not.
And maybe he was relieved because he wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Do we not? We don't give him
Yeah.
any credence to the fact that maybe this was not how he wanted that to happen himself. Remember,
Yeah.
not all men are pigs, despite what Colleen Hoover writes in her books.
But according to Ben, if you are going to be attracted to someone, there can't be any hang up slightly at all about their physical
Yeah,
appearance. And I'm like,
yeah.
that's not the case.
And again, that's projection because he's the one who burnt her.
So there's also something at the beginning of the book that I really didn't like, and I can't really articulate why I didn't like it very well. But you know when he's talking to the father,
Mhm.
and he's bringing up these actors that, despite like physical appearance in some way, they were
Mhm.
able to go on and act. But he only brought up male actors, 2 male actors.
He also brought up things that were nowhere near
Yeah.
as like dramatic
Yeah.
as half your body being scarred
Yeah.
by burns. Like
Yeah.
Forrest Whitaker has a little bit of an eye that doesn't stay in place.
Yeah.
It's like, but it's like compared to literally half your body being scarred. It's
Yeah.
like those are not equivalent. Not only was the comparison only about male actors, which in a world where we know that female actors are still paid less than their co-stars, they're still considered less bankable stars. So there's that aspect, and then the aspect of the fact that nothing in what he said was anywhere near what Fallon was dealing with
Yeah.
at all. So
Yeah.
it's problematic in 2 ways.
This was our favorite moments one, right?
I think so.
Let's skip that one. Who would star? Let's just move on. Who would star in the inevitable movie?
Oh, it's happening.
Yeah.
I thought
You
of
think
Anya
it's
Taylor.
happening?
Oh, I'm sure it's Colleen Hoover. If they can
Somebody's bought
bank-
the rights at the very least.
I thought of Anya Taylor-Joy,
I
Mm.
don't know who that is.
the weird girl from the Queen's Gambit with it looks like an alien.
Oh, okay, well, there you go.
She's already
People
halfway there.
judge by your appearance. So there you
No,
go.
she's cool, but but I could see where like they could make that work with the scars and all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
Where she's, I don't know. That's who I thought of for her. For Ben, I don't even know.
Yeah, I couldn't. Just some generic.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, for her, I in my brain kept seeing. She might be a little old for the role because it's supposed to be 18 now. But Amber Tamblyn, because they kept talking about her like hiding behind her hair. So to me, and wearing black all the time, so I felt like she had more of a
Who is
Gothy.
Amber Tamblyn?
What's Joan
Joan of
Arcadia?
Joan of Arcadia, yeah,
okay.
She was in the Sisterhood of the Traveling
Traveling with
Pants.
Rory.
Yeah.
She's married, or at one point was married to David Cross.
Oh, okay. I know now. I'm. It just took me a second. I was like,
So that's who I don't know actresses well enough now. Honestly, I don't know that I would cast. I wouldn't do that to their career.
Well, I mean, like a director could always just rewrite the. Like,
yeah,
get
I
rid of
hope
all
they
the
fix
stuff.
it. I hope they fix
well,
it.
if the backlash because of where she had to reprint it
Yeah.
and do stuff. They're gonna have to, or it's gonna be
Yeah,
backlash
yeah,
on the.
I'm
on the
hoping
film.
that they just go with Verity and it ends with Us
Yeah.
and other books. Because I actually did download the first chapter of Verity from Overdrive. Sorry, Libby. I read that first sample and it was better.
Okay.
Oh, side
Kelly,
note.
Kelly liked it. The Verity. She said I liked Verity. But she had heard the same thing. This one was not as.
No, this one's not good.
Yeah.
But I read the very first line in Verity and the very first line of this book are basically the same. And it made me laugh because this is the first line of November 9. I wonder what kind of sound it would make if I were to smash this glass against the side of his head. And then
I love this.
the very first line in Verity is I hear the crack of his skull before the splattering of blood. So I feel like she's just trying to like pop skulls. Like
She's got some violence in her.
She has some violent tendencies.
For the
Yeah.
dad, I thought of Peter Gallagher. Do you know what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
yeah, Sandy
He's
Cohen.
actually a really nice guy, but he can play kind of that character.
The dad just seemed not very in touch with things. But
Yeah.
later it did paint him as realizing that he was really in love, like, or cared deeply at some point for Ben's mom. He was heartbroken about that. He really wanted to fix his relationship with Fallon. He just didn't have the tools to. Side note, go to therapy, people. Like, there are people who can teach you
Mhm.
how to move on
That should be the sequel, where they all go to therapy.
on November 10th.
No, November 8th before November 9th, so that stuff stops happening.
There you go. Let's break that cycle. Okay, go ahead, Angelique. What was I can never remember the question.
Well, I was thinking, for some reason, I was thinking Zendaya because I think she would make Fallon interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And she's good at playing
Yeah.
damaged characters.
Yeah, I think she
I
could do
love
well.
her. And I love Zendaya, by the way. She's
Mhm.
fantastic. But
Yeah,
it's not. I don't know.
I still can't think of anybody for Ben.
Now that you said you, I'm thinking Penn Badgley.
Yeah, but you
But
basically
he's
need-
already done that character. I don't know if he would do
Yeah.
it again.
Well, what
I'm-
else is he gonna do?
I see, like, it's weird because I see Ben as, like, characters I've met in real life. Like, people like that. So, like,
Yeah,
that's who
yeah.
I'm picturing. And I'm like, ugh,
Yeah,
I'm not going to say. But, like, it's just hard for me to see an actor when I'm like, I don't know. Okay, keep going.
All right, that was the last question. Is there anything anybody wants to say?
Oh, another disturbing part, because we were talking about November 10th and 9th. So
Mhm.
he would have known that that was the anniversary of
Yeah.
the fire.
Yep.
Mhm.
It's just another layer of just this. Okay, so apparently Colleen Hoover has using the TikTok and the Instagram has reached a lot of 20-somethings, and that's why
Mhm.
these characters are these new adults.
Yeah.
And I'm not a book banner. Anyone wants to read a book, read a book.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Mhm.
It disturbs me that there's like this whole legion of thousands of 20 and 30-something-year-old women who read this book and are like giving it 5 stars on Goodreads because I'm like, do you think that this is that whole fantasy thing with romance? Do you think that are you just reading it because you think it's interesting and she's kind of this hip author who's, she's the cool lady who's the dairy farmer who got on the TikTok? Or do you think that this is how your romance is supposed to be? Because if that's the case, run. This is not how romance is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it's just concerning because I don't want people to think that this is normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say don't read this book of hers. I don't know who I would recommend it to at this point. I really don't.
Yeah.
I would say try other.
Yeah.
And so
Other
for book
books.
club, one of the recommendations, and the room seemed to agree for next year, is just to read at least one Colleen Hoover to kind of see what the hype
don't
is
do
about.
this one.
I'm going
Yeah.
to. I think I'm going to do Verity because I think it has that thriller. I'm told it's a little more thrillerish, so I think that'll be better for that group. No, this one we're not.
Okay, I just want to point out something that really annoyed me.
Yes, please.
So at the end of the book, where Fallon's like holds herself up in her apartment because she's really depressed because this guy she thought she loved or that she loved turned out to be like the cause of like all of her problems. And then her mom comes in who is supposed to like really care for her and really care about Fallon's individuality and development and things like that. And she reads Ben's manuscript and is like, "Oh, Fallon, he's hurt too." And I'm just like, "No, are you not her mother? This man ruined her life for 2 years."
A mother who has well intentions towards her child would never,
And
ever say that.
And it bothered me because they made it very clear that she always had the best intentions for her child. So why did you write her
Yes.
then? Because Colleen Hoover wanted to make it seem like this was okay at the end. So the one character who can make it seem like it's okay is one of the few redemptive characters in this book. So you used her for this horrible plot
Yeah.
device, and you
She
changed her
Only
character.
came in for that reason.
Right.
And it bugs me.
it just
So
further
much.
like gaslights
Yeah.
Gaslights,
Fallon
yeah.
into believing that this is acceptable behavior.
Yeah.
You're
And-
a woman.
The fact that it's based on his manuscript, which he wrote, which he had control over, so every word on it could either be truth or could be just a complete lie. How do we know he didn't actually just set the car on fire to set the house on fire? You know,
Yeah.
it's his word. I mean,
And
okay,
he's
he told the
clearly
truth
not
about
trustworthy.
yeah, he told the truth about being the one to do it, but it's still his version of events.
Mm-hmm.
And this
And
mom
he only
has
told
never
it when it was he got
Yeah.
no, he didn't tell. He got caught doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this mom has never met him. She only knows him through his own words. So I'm like, no, that's no.
No.
I didn't like that.
And
And
the
again-
whole mother dying thing, I can also attest. Dude, like, that is not okay what the mom did to her children.
No.
She knew that Ben was going to walk in and find her. She knew that her 16-year-old son was going to find her like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. That's
Mm.
You're a female writer, and you wrote
horrible.
none of these female characters. I mean, and even the ones that you, like you said, that you started off thinking that they were good, they turn out not to be good. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Write stronger. This is your voice. Write stronger characters. Is this what you think women should be? Because that's disturbing. I don't want to put that on her. I don't want to say, because I don't know her, but it's really disturbing that if this had come from a male author, I'd be like, well, yeah.
It
But
it read
didn't.
like an early version. Like maybe she wrote it when she was in her early 20s. I'm not saying like just because it was
And-
published with 2015
Yeah.
doesn't mean that it was written there. Okay.
All right. Is there anything else?
Oh, I got a long list.
You got a long list.
Oh, I thought it was funny when she told her dad that she was not just a bratty child because she's an 18-year-old adult.
Yeah. I was like,
Well, they made a comment like, he's 19, which means he's a man. Like,
Oh,
that was a
yeah.
weird comment. Like, why'd you have to qualify that?
I don't know. They did talk about his appearance growing more adult. On page 30, Ben was like, I hate ice cream. I hate yogurt. I hate ice cream that pretends to be yogurt. Well, Ben, I hate whatever ice cream you're pretending to be, is what I wrote on page 30.
I love that. That is awesome.
Okay, a bunch of stuff about how I hate Ben. Ben didn't think he was an alpha male, and I'm
Oh,
like,
that was weird.
so I think that by old standards, he's probably not an alpha male because he's like a broody writer, but that's definitely in, and it's been in for like at least 10 years. They needed to have updated that because Ben's an alpha male now. Oh, at one point he says, look what the cat flew in. It's dragged in. So make like a tree and butt out, Ben.
Okay, I remember that Barbara Daniels used to work here, and she couldn't get a phrase right. If it had been a snake, it would have slapped me.
Oh, I forgot.
And I got raked over the leaves. Now you're gonna go get raked over the leaves. She used to say stuff like that. That's
That made me think of Biff in Back to the Future. 'Cause
Oh,
he
yeah,
could never
yeah.
get it. And basically, I was like, Ben is the worst. Fallon's mom wouldn't take Ben's side. And then, yep, okay. I did it.
Right. You got anything?
No, I do not recommend this book. That is my conclusion. And I hate to say that, and because I also, by the way, she has a fandom, so I hope none of the fandom comes, because apparently, when people would post bad reviews on Goodreads, the fandom would come out and be like, well, you're just a sad loser because you didn't like this book. No, the points that were made by the people who didn't like it were some of the points that we made here today, and they're valid. And don't read this book.
I will say, as the archivist of the library or whatever, I would give it to somebody who asked, and I would not say anything. I would
Yeah,
reserve
of
judgment.
course. Oh yeah.
If you want to read this book, read this
Read the
book. We're not
book,
going to
yeah.
stop
You might.
you. If you
Not
think you'll like
recommending
it,
it, yeah.
read it. You could like it. We
Also,
don't care.
I'm not going to judge you. I don't
Yeah.
care. If I see
No.
someone check this book out, I want to make that very clear.
Oh yeah.
I
No,
think
no.
nothing about it. Like, I was telling my sister about it, and she was like, there's some aspects of it I might like. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, give it a
Read
shot.
it. Yeah.
Read it.
No.
You're fine.
Again, we're not
Um,
book banners, so read the book.
Read the
I'm not
book if you
removing
want
it.
to. I just did not like it and cannot envision recommending it
Yeah,
to
this is
anybody.
all of our
Amen.
personal opinions based on what we like and don't like about any of the fiction that we read.
Yes, we like quality. So.
And I would try Verity, or It Ends Here. It Starts With Us
It
is the
Ends With
next
Us.
one. It Ends With Us, and then the second one that just came out is It Starts With Us.
Yeah.
I would try those. I've heard good things about those
Me
from
too.
people I trust.
Mm-hmm.
I had not heard anything one way or the other about November 9.
Yeah, so we kind of went in unaware. All right.
Oh, I feel like TikTok lied. That's how I feel. I found
Aw.
Tia Williams' 7 Days in June on TikTok. Loved it.
Mhm.
Great. Good romance. Oh, talk about insta-love. The characters in that book had insta-love, and it was very believable.
So you can do it.
Yeah.
It was very believable. Not so much in this one. Okay. Just
Okay.
wanted to say that. Thank you.
All right. So before we close out this episode, I want to once again promote Novelist Plus, a reader's advisory database that allows users to search for their next read based on appeal terms and read-alikes. For example, when I searched for read-alikes for November 9, 2 books that came up were Who Do You Love by Jennifer Weiner and One Day by David Nichols, both romance novels that deal with relationships developing as protagonists meet again and again over time. So if you want to find read-alikes or look for books with certain settings or tones, head over to Novelist Plus, which is accessed through NC Live, and start searching.
It's a great database.
All right, that's it for this month. We're booked up. November 9 is available both in the library, online at the NC Digital Library, and on the Libby app. Let us know what you think of the book and what you think of what we think of the book. Just leave a comment at the off-shelf blog at gastonlibrary.blogspot.com or at gastonspeaks.podbean.com. Next month's book is Let It Snow, a holiday romance by Beth Moran. All right.
Already better than this.
Good to know. Good to know.
All right, thank everyone for listening. We'll see you next month, or you'll
Bye,
hear
guys.
us next month. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.